Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of The Movie Moment, the video series where we talk about the best movies from the past and the present. This is your host, your favorite man-child, Super Jesus Jackson. Today, my friends, we will be taking a look at the most popular scene, the best scene from the 2019 film Marriage Story. The film stars Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson as a married couple in the process of a divorce. Pretty relatable stuff, but it's an amazing, amazing film. And this scene is probably the most talked about scene in this movie, and it's really the scene, though, that showcases the powerful acting of Driver and Johansson. I know I said it was the best scene, but now that I think about it, I think one other scene in the movie is really, really good too, for completely different reasons almost, in terms of its execution. We'll probably do that next week, you know, depending if this video goes well with you guys. Go ahead and give the video a like if you enjoyed it, or comment down below and let me know. Oh Lord, I'm so excited.
You're being so much like your father.
Do not compare me to my father.
I didn't compare you to him. I said you were acting like him.
There we go. The comparisons. You want to know one way to piss off your partner? Just tell them that they're like their mother or their terrible father. That's how you do it. That is exactly how you do it. And when that happens, though, it's just a ping pong match after that. You know, it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's awful.
Exactly like your mother. Everything you're complaining about her, you're doing. You're suffocating Henry.
First of all, I love my mother. She was a wonderful mother.
Just repeating what you told me.
Secondly, how dare you compare my mothering to my mother? I may be like my father, but I am not like my mother.
You are!
I love the crescendos of this scene, the highs and lows. You know, we have Scarlett Johansson's character being like, you know, I love my mother. And then she's like, well, how dare you, though, still compare me to my mother? Like, she really just takes it, you know, does a home run with her voice there. And then, obviously, Adam Driver's character doesn't stay back, and he responds almost just as fiercely. That's how arguments go, man. I mean, that's how life goes, and it's debilitating.
And you're like my father. You're also like my mother. You're all the bad things about all of these people.
Adam Driver's character is really supposed to be the egotistical guy, and the way he carries himself, his dialogue, is super egotistical. Like, the little hand that he does, he's like, and you're like my father. Like, and his voice, man. It's understandable as to why Scarlett Johansson's character really gets pissed at him, because, God, who wouldn't?
People, but mostly your mother.
I've always found that part funny because, you know, it's just kind of, I know it's supposed to be serious, and it is serious, but it's the template that he uses in the dialogue is funny.
You're all the bad things about all of these people, but mostly your mother.
It's usually used in comedy, like, you know, let's say I tell you this, like,
you know, I love my wife, like, all the time. Except that one time.
It's just funny.
We would lie in bed together. Sometimes I would look at you and see her and just feel so gross.
I felt...
Well, that's the worst thing that a guy can ever have is, you know, when they're making love to their partner and then all they see is their mother-in-law. Oh.
That's when you touch me.
You're a slob. I made all the beds, clothes on the cabinets, took care of you like an infant.
Makes me want to peel my skin off.
You'll never be happy. And now lay her anywhere.
You see that? Like, he's like, you'll never be happy. Just sneaks that in, you know? Like, it just, oh my God.
You think you found some better opposite guy than me, and in a few years, you rebel against him because you need to have your voice. But you don't want a voice. You just want to fucking complain about not having a voice.
I think about being married to you, and that woman is a stranger to me. I mean, we had a child's marriage.
You've gone back to your...
You've regressed. You know, Driver's character is an asshole in this one. I mean, he really is. I mean, he's an amazing guy with his child Henry in the movie, but, you know, when he's going at it with his wife there, like, good Lord. But I will say, you know, as much as, you know, we see that Driver's character is maybe the villain of this whole story, the whole movie really shows you that the good person can also be an asshole.
Life before you met me, it's pathetic.
People used to tell me that you were too selfish to be a great artist, And I used to defend you. They were absolutely right.
All your best acting is behind you. You're back to being a hack.
You gaslighted me. You're a fucking villain.
Oh, you want to present yourself as a victim because it's a good legal strategy?
Oh, Lord, it's just insult after insult after insult. And, you know, Driver's character is the one that really just kind of stabs you in like a really just egotistical, like, I'm better than you way, and, you know, you're nothing without me, like, just really bad. Whereas Johansson's ways of going about it is just much more, I guess, blunt and direct.
Strategy? Fine. But you and I both know you chose this life. You wanted it until you didn't. You used me so you could get out of LA.
I didn't use you.
You did, and then you blamed me for it. You always made me aware of what I was doing wrong.
I love this part, you know, I love that, you know, the camera focused on Johansson's face here when she's looking at Driver up, because, you know, he's taller than her, but that's a metaphor too, because he's very egotistical. He thinks that he's above everyone else, and so she looks up at him, you know, because, and I love that, you know, because this whole, you know, the whole basis of this story is that Johansson's character is constantly being shit on by a guy who thinks he's better than everyone, better than her, and she's trying to get out of that toxicity. And I just love how the camera focuses on that here and kind of visually builds that metaphor. You know, and both of them right here are really just emoting with their faces. God, it's amazing to see.
I was falling short. Life with you was joyless.
What, so then you had to go and fuck someone
You
else?
shouldn't be upset that I fucked her. You should be upset that I had a laugh with her.
Do you love her?
No, but she didn't hate me. You hated me.
You hated me. You fucked somebody we worked with.
You stopped having sex with me in the last year. I never cheated on you.
That was cheating on me.
But there's so much I could have done. I was a director in my 20s who came...
I also love the transitions of this whole scene. You know, we start in the living room, then we go to the kitchen, Driver's character sits down, and also the cinematography of just the zoom in on the faces, you know, because the director really wants you to see that these characters are emoting, and it really pushes the dialogue forward by focusing in on the actors' faces. It's really claustrophobic, which is the perfect theme in this movie, because this whole movie is just really just tension. That's all it is.
From nothing and was suddenly on the cover of fucking Time Out New York. I was hot shit and I wanted to fuck everybody and I didn't. And I loved you and I didn't want to lose you.
You know, this is interesting because this scene almost paints Driver's character, you know, basically as the real villain. But like I mentioned before, I mean, when you really watch this movie, you come to find that both of these people are not perfect. But I like how this scene really kind of almost sides with one person. I mean, they're both being assholes to each other, but I guess from the dialogue itself, if you really look at it, like, it seems like Driver's character is the one that's kind of just being like all those criticisms that Johansson's character is telling him. He's like, no. Like, I didn't do any of that. Fuck you. You know what I mean? Like you're the one that did this to yourself even. You know, it's almost like he's cynical, which is like, that's pretty savage. But again, I mean, the movie does a great job of really humanizing both of these people and not viewing one or the other as the real villain. But also, second of all, I will say that even if Driver is the villain of the story, it is extremely engaging to see his journey and to really get a taste of his own medicine through Johansson's really offensive divorce strategy.
So then you had to go and fuck someone
You
else?
shouldn't be upset that I fucked her. You should be upset that I had a laugh with her.
Here, this is the iconic guy excuse, you know, like, oh, you shouldn't be upset that I made love with her. You should be upset that I talked with her and connected with her. Oh, man.
But I'm in my 20s, and I didn't want to lose that too, and I kind of did. And you wanted so much, so fast. I didn't even want to get married. Fuck it! There's so much I didn't do.
You know, I really like how this movie just really tackles the binary characteristics, you know, of people. You know, in general, you know, men really focus on sex, you know, but at the same time, because they focus on it so much, it's not really a huge deal to them if they cheat in a physical way. For women, it's almost like the opposite. They really put sex on a pedestal because they don't really care for it that much. In a weird way, like sex is something that's only done with someone that you emotionally really care about. And men are kind of like the backwards way of that. It's all a contradiction, and this movie, of course, has to highlight that because, it's about a relationship, for God's sakes.
Oh, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
I can't believe I have to know you forever.
Oh, you're fucking insane. And you're fucking winning.
Are you kidding me? I wanted to be married. I'd already lost. You didn't love me as much as I loved you.
What does that have to do with LA? What?
This is really terrible. This is the struggle of being a man, growing up and then going through your early 20s and then going into your 30s and marriage and all that. Like, men are just kind of biologically hardwired to almost like have sex willy-nilly. Like, that's part of the developmental process for a man. But just because it's part of the process or just because it's easy to do for a man doesn't mean that it's what should be done. But, because we're human beings and we sort of care about people's struggles, like, believe it or not, that's a struggle that men deal with. I'm a guy, so I'm biased, but it's true. When you're in a relationship, you have to secure yourself, almost like you have to tie a knot, around, because otherwise because you really just want to go wild, and you can't when you strap yourself down to a relationship, which is the complete opposite of what men would normally do. For women, it's much easier for them to strap themselves down, and be with the person that they think is worthy enough. Men are like really immature, almost like they don't really start seeing that until it's almost too late. But, as a guy, of course, I feel for Driver's character here. I really do, because it really is, it's a biological need almost for a guy to go out there and just go wild. Like, that's a biological thing because it's easy physically for guys to do that, Like, men don't really have to think about the ramifications of, kind of unprotected sex, STDs is something that everyone deals with, but, like the whole pregnancy thing and having the baby come and then you have to take care of the baby. Like, it's just, guys don't really have to worry about that because they're not the ones getting pregnant. For women, it's a big burden, whenever they have to have sex, because it could possibly mean that you're going to have a child and you have to take care of that child, Obviously, every woman, every man is individually different, but, I'm just kind of going through the general surface area here. And in the same way, I feel for Johansson's character because she wanted to get married. She wanted to have that picket fence life, the white picket fence life, the dog, the house, like that's what she wanted. And that's the epitome for her. And it sucks that Driver wasn't able to give that to her.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
I can't believe I have to know you forever.
Oh, you're fucking insane. And you're fucking winning.
This right here is the beginning of the climax of the scene, and it really just highlights how arguments and how crescendos, in arguments are. Like, one person will throw out a big, terrible offense, and then the other person tries to top it or gets frustrated and just unleashes this rage, and that's what Johansson kind of does there. And then it makes Driver's character just punch the wall. It's just, I don't know, it's almost like a dick measuring contest, just who gets mad or who throws out the biggest offense.
Are you kidding me? I wanted to be married. I'd already lost. You didn't love me as much as I loved you.
What does that have to do with LA?
Oh, Lord, you didn't love me as much as I loved you. Driver's like, what does that have to do with LA? Either A, that was, complete just ego, or B, it's just a tactic that you do, when someone tells you something that's true, you try to avoid it and try to change the topic. And so, in a way, he did that with his dialogue when he was like, well, what does that have to do with LA? Like, just, man, interesting stuff.
You're so merged with your own selfishness, you don't even identify it as selfishness anymore. You're such a dick!
Every day I wake up and I hope you're dead. Dead like if I can guarantee Henry would be okay. I'd hope you get an illness and then get hit by a car and die.
Oh, Lord. You know, that's how you know that you really hit it right. You know, when the person just comes at you with all they got. You know, and Driver got the last laugh, I guess, you know, with what he said there. But he obviously crossed the line. And, but I just love that this scene shows exactly how arguments are. You know, and as it's still beautiful to hear Adam Driver's character, you know, as self-centered as he is, as egotistical as he is, and he's saying all these terrible things to Johansson's character, you know, at least he's like, look, I don't care about you, you could go die, but Henry, you know, if I can guarantee that Henry would be okay, I wish he would die. Like, you know, but he makes room for Henry because, and both of these people, you know, care about their son. And that's how you know that they're not entirely assholes. And that's why, you know, children are important in marriage, right? I mean, it solidifies and strengthens the bond between two people.
I'm sorry.
Me too.
You know, and he bows down, he gets on his knees, a symbol of surrender, a symbol of saying, you know, I fucked up, you know, I'm gonna surrender myself to you because to show you that, you know, I'm no longer going to be a threat, an offense anymore because, you know, I regret it or I respect you enough right now. It's a beautiful thing. I mean, you know, he's an asshole, but he still knows that he went too far, and he gets down on his knees and says, I'm sorry. And he starts crying too, you know? Like, I mean, and Johansson's character goes up to him, starts massaging him, and says, me too. I mean, it's just heartbreaking, you know, just to see two people try to eat each other alive, and not in a good way. Again, you know, just really the crescendos and the decrescendos, and just really, that's how life works in an argument, right? That's how life is. Life is all about climax, resolution, exposition, all that. And at the end here, it really just goes to show that, you know, no matter how much of an asshole you may be, or how awful the things you say may be, there's still some sort of hope, some sort of goodness, you know, in people, in you. And I really love the end shot there. It shows the hole in the wall and the living room. Just perfect. Really shows the journey of this scene, you know? The scene really begins really closed up. We don't really see the surroundings. We see them, their faces, but then towards the end, the camera zooms back. Lets you see the whole picture. The music here is fantastic as well. I think the guy who wrote the soundtrack to Toy Story wrote the soundtrack for this one too. Well, there we have it, guys. That was a reaction/analysis of one of the best scenes in Marriage Story. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you really enjoy my content. But, you know, at the end of the day, I appreciate your viewership. It means the absolute world to me. I think we're going to do one more scene from Marriage Story. You know, those who have watched the movie, I think you know which one I'm talking about. Thank you guys so much. You take care, stay safe, and until next time, I love you. I think that's it. All right, cool.